Hey everybody, Will the Watch Clicker here, and welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Yema Flygraf Navigator, which is the chronograph in the Flygraf line of watches from Yema. This is the first video review of a Yema that I've done, although I did a written review of one of their dive watches not that long ago. The Flygraf Navigator isn't the thinnest chronograph available, but it also isn't a chunk like a lot of other chronographs can be. Featuring the Valjoux 7750 and a fairly attractive price point for an automatic chronograph, the Yema Flygraf Navigator makes a compelling package. Without further ado, let's get up close and personal with the Flygraf Navigator, and I hope you enjoy this video. It seems as though we might be heading for the heyday of automatic chronographs. Almost every brand, big and small, wants to release an automatic chronograph. They fell behind the rest of the tool watch segment when microbrand dive watches started becoming so popular. With the market saturated, brands are looking for something new to add to your collection. The Flygraf Navigator is Yema's answer to this call, and with great specs and classic pilot chrono styling, this looks to be a great option. The Flygraf Navigator comes in at a manageable 40mm wide, 49mm lug-to-lug, and a Arista crystal of only 12mm. Not too shabby for a Valjoux 7750 powered chrono. This isn't to say that the watch wears thinner than its dimensions would let on. The case is a little slab-sided, which creates the look of a thicker watch, even with the conservative case height. However, I didn't feel this watch was uncomfortable, and I've certainly worn other chronographs that felt far bulkier on the wrist. With all of this said, I rarely expect chronographs to wear like thin field watches. It just isn't their jam. The Flygraf Navigator takes on the 12-6-9 subdial layout, which can sometimes give off an unsymmetrical look. Yema did a nice job in balancing out the dial by placing their branding text and the day-date complication at 3 o'clock inside of a faux subdial. The surround gives off the impression of a fourth subdial and helps keep the watch look symmetrical. This is a great way to manage the dial configuration. Yema did some work to the bottom half of the dial to give it additional depth. There is a step up on the dial that goes around the 3, 6, and 9 subdials that creates something of an aircraft silhouette. It reminds me of a B-2 bomber if that aircraft was more rounded off. If you haven't noticed, the double-domed crystal creates some insane reflections and bounces light all over the place. I wish Yema had opted for something with less distortion because it detracts from the elements like the silhouette I just described. I didn't notice it for a while because of all that distortion. That said, I didn't have any problems reading the time while wearing the watch. But for those of you who have read a lot of my reviews, you will know that I'm a bigger fan of flatter crystals. Having only had hands-on with Yema's dive watches, I was interested to see how their foray into a big boy automatic chronograph would go. I was pleasantly surprised with how well executed this watch was. The blue dial is dark without fading to black, and the tan lume complements it perfectly. The white chronograph and subdial hands contrast those elements so nothing is lost when reading the time or the elapsed time from the chronograph. The friction bezel was torqued just right so that it isn't moving every time you brush up against something. I won't attempt to tell you how to use all the timing functions of the bezel. I'm sure Dr. Google can provide a better explanation than me. Aside from the distortion in the crystal and the little bit of slab-sidedness, I love this chronograph. I hope Yema continues to evolve their chronographs as they have done with their dive watches. Their newly released dive watches look amazing and provide fairly decent value. The Flygraf Navigator comes in at under $2,000, even on the bracelet, which is a pretty decent deal for an automatic chronograph. If Yema keeps hitting it out of the park like they've done with this watch, their watches will soon find their way onto plenty of wrists. Thanks for watching the video review of the Yema Flygraf Navigator. If you want more reviews, head over to watchclicker.com. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe.